now that we've got a stub record here with all of our label data associated, we're going to go ahead and move on to more advanced parsing. How do we get this Darwin core representation filled out more? So we're going to go back to Comprehensive. You can do this with Edit Task or from this Browse Collection Object view, or you can go into this Navigate radial and go to Comprehensive. All right, so you can see what we did last time. All this stuff is already filled out and ready to go. You can see our determination over there on the left. So next, we're going to be parsing our collecting event. So I'm going to grab this data right here. I'm going to copy all of it. I'm going to look for that data in TaxonWorks already. First, I'm going to look for the entire record just to see if it's there. Nothing's going to show up. So let's look for the date next and see if that date will show up. Well, the date sort of showed up, but it's giving me sort of an erroneous result that doesn't match what I want. So let's look for it specifically using this format. Is that the right date? 20th. But I don't think anything is going to come up. This one's not in our database yet. No, it's not. All right, so we've got this specimen here. It's not already in our database. What we're doing right now is assigning a collecting event. So this is the what, when, where, how, not what, but what, where, how of a specimen or of a collection object. These are all a separate data class. You can actually go to this also in the Edit Collecting Event or Browse Collecting Event task and do the exact same thing just within a collecting event and not associated with a specimen. So we're going to create a new one here. One of the cool things you can do is you can pull down the label data from above into this collecting event. And if you do that, you'll notice a bunch of these fields just automatically filled out. There's some fancy automatic parsing going on in the background that can detect things like GPS coordinates, dates, and a few other things. Sometimes also collecting method. So in this browse or in this comprehensive task, collecting and in browse collecting event as well, you've got two columns here, verbatim and parsed. And these semantically should be treated differently. Verbatim is supposed to be exactly what's on the label with no parsing except that you identify it as that thing, as like the locality or the latitude or the longitude. So you're not interpreting this other than saying this is an example of the locality on this label. So for example, the locality here, which Darwin Core defines as the lowest level below the other levels that can be parsed out, such as state, country, county in Darwin Core, would be Monticello, Allerton Park, although you could argue that Monticello could be parsed out in municipality. So we're going to put in Allerton Park for our locality, because that's the most specific locality that's on our label. The verbatim latitude is right here. The verbatim longitude is right here. Now, TaxonWorks did a little bit of a boo-boo and grabbed that as the elevation instead of the uncertainty. So I'm going to move that back up here. There is no elevation recorded on this label, although you can add that as well as parse it over here on the right. Our habitat is underbark of Quercus alba eating hypoxylon. So we're going to add that to our habitat. Our date has already been parsed out to 20th of November, 2021. Geodesic datum is not specified on here, so we're going to presume WGS 84. And our collector is myself, so we'll parse out that. And there is no method such as beating, sweeping, bark peeling, or something like that misspecified. So we're going to leave that blank as well. All right, so let's go ahead and save this collecting event. Now, if I were to save this and this label matched another one in our database, it wouldn't let me save. It would actually pop up with an error that says this has already been found in the database, which is a great way to reduce duplication of collecting events. So now I've filled out all of the verbatim fields in my collecting event or my collection event. So now we're going to start parsing them. We're going to assign them to things. So first we're going to look for a geographic area, and you can see here that based on the GPS coordinates, TaxonWorks has already found that it's probably Piatt County. But if I was just going to search this, if TaxonWorks wasn't selecting it, you could see there's only one possibility for Piatt. I could also add things like Illinois or United States, and it would give me a bunch of different options. But I am going to stick to the one that it was suggested because that is the right county. So I'll select that. I'm going to ignore georeferences, and I'll cover that in a separate video. Next, we'll parse out the date. You can see TaxonWorks has already parsed into year, month, day. So that's good. We don't have an elevation, so we're not parsing that. We don't have a start or an end time, so we're not parsing that. However, we do have collectors, which is me. So I'm going to assign this to myself as a person in TaxonWorks. Additionally, we have a trip code. This is not actually parsed out on the left in verbatim, but we do have a trip code that was assigned to this collecting event, and we can actually parse that out over here on the right. So remember, for our concept of namespaces, this trip code has to be unique within a namespace. So this is unique within the McElrath trips code namespace, the namespace. And I'll go ahead and add that in right here, McElrath trip codes. So now if I save that, you can see that that trip code actually gets added as an identifier to this collecting event. So now I have parsed out everything I'm going to be able to parse out on this object. A lot of these objects, things down here, this group formation member lithology, this is for paleontological specimens. And these are custom carryover attributes from our legacy database. So now let's again return to our browse collection object view. And you can see we have quite a bit more information, both in our timeline view. We've got an assigned collecting event and a new revision. And then down here on the bottom, you can see a lot more Darwin core fields are being parsed out. We have country, state, province, county, event date, field number, habitat, verbatim event date, verbatim locality, and a variety of more that are now being parsed out with export. We got coordinates and things like that. You can see that this is starting to get filled out. Next, let's talk about georeferencing, which will be covered in the next video.